Let's make a top that is going to save my summertime. It is breezy and light as a feather, and you can wear it in different ways too, which is always a plus. Or you can make it into a dress. How about that? And if you live anywhere hot and humid, then you probably know that sometimes you just want clothes that barely touch your body. But we still have to wear something, right? Hello, my dear sewing friends, it's Alisa here. You will need just 1 yard of fabric and a simple pattern draft. You can do it, I know that, so let's roll. For the first measurement, take your measuring tape, place it on the center back neckline, and drop it till your tailbone. Once done, put that on your pattern paper. Then divide it into 3 equal parts. Now that will very approximately mark your bust line, your waistline, and your hip line at the tailbone. Now take your full bust measurement. And to draw these lines, we will use just a quarter of that. All of these lines will equal quarter of your bust measurement. Let's take care of the neckline. I'm going to take 3.5 inches to the right, but if you're not sure how wide you want it, always take less because you can cut away later. From this point, take 1 inch up and with a dash curved line, mark your back neckline. Now let's measure your shoulder width. For this top, place your measuring tape across the back so that it goes through your center back neckline, one shoulder edge to another. Divide this measurement in half. Now place that measurement starting at the edge of your pattern and you will see that it will extend past your neckline. That is going to be your shoulder width. Okay, before we move on to the next step, let me show you something. Imagine that this is your pattern. Now to make it into our top, we're going to roughly cut it apart at this point and insert extra here. Obviously, these are just simple visuals, but I think it does help to understand the concept. Okay, now my shoulder, this part right here, is 3.5 inches wide, extended by roughly the same amount. Now you will need to extend your bust line to match it. The next step is an optional step. I know that I like my armholes bigger, so I will drop this bust line by 1 inch. To create the armhole, extend the bust line by about 1.5 inches. From the edge of the shoulder line, drop a straight line to your bust line and mark a midpoint on it. My midpoint is at 4 inches. Now connect the edge of the neckline to the edge of the shoulder line. From the midpoint of this straight line, take 1/2 inch to the left. And now draw the armhole like this with a really nice smooth curve. A few more things and we'll be done, I promise. Now, find a midpoint on the shoulder line and raise it by 1/4 inch. Curve it in like so. This will give you a better shape. We also need casings for the ties. Raise the curved shoulder line by 3/4 inch. Usually we would need to make sure it matches the outlines when folded like a facing, but in this case, don't worry about it because this way it won't create any extra bulk at the neckline once it's all sewn together. The side seam from your armhole to the hip line is just a straight line. The final width of the pattern should be plenty to accommodate your waist and your hips, but just to be sure, you can always take quarter measurements of your waist and your hips and make sure that the pattern piece is at least 1/2 inch wider. And you can curve in the bottom hem if you'd like. I did it by raising it by about 3 inches at the side and then drawing a curve like this. Alright, this back pattern piece will be cut on the fold and it's done. Now, copy this on a new sheet of paper, everything except for the shoulder part. We will create the front pattern and after that, onto the sewing. For the front neckline, I will make it 3.5 inches deep for comfort and 3.5 inches wide, just like the back neckline. From the edge of the neckline, take 2 inches up. This will ensure that the ties stay put on your shoulders and don't try to slip off the back or front. Now connect the 2 points to create your front neckline. Now connect the neckline to the edge of the shoulder line. Please note that this line will not automatically equal your new shoulder measurement. For that, take your back pattern, measure the shoulder line, and make sure that your front pattern piece measures the same. Mine is just about 1/4 inch shorter, so I marked it here. Draw a straight line down to the bust line. On the midpoint here, take 1/4 inch to the left and draw a new armhole. The rest of the steps for the casings of the ties and the bottom hem will be the same as for the back pattern piece. Front pattern piece will also be cut on a fold. And when you're cutting your fabric out, don't forget to add your seam allowances. For this garment, I did 1/4 inch, and you will see why in just about a moment. For the fabric, choose lightweight fabrics with beautiful soft drape. I am using polyester here, which is not the best choice for summer, but you know what? It works in this breezy design. Make sure that you transfer the marking for the tie casings on the shoulders, so that way you know where should be your seam. First, I'm going to serge the sides of your pattern pieces. You can also do a zigzag stitch or an overcast stitch, whichever one you have. Once that is done, place your pattern pieces right sides together, top on top of bottom, and now stitch the side seams together just outside the serged seam. Press the seams open. Now, I will take the armhole and I will fold the edge of the fabric 1/8 inch in and do a straight stitch on the very edge of the fabric, like so. I like to use this technique on lightweight fabrics and it works great. Once done, give it a good press. Now, fold it in another 1/8 inch and now stitch away from the edge, aiming to overlap the first stitch, like so. Go slow and you will do great. It takes a little bit of practice, so try it on a scrap fabric if needed. Once done, press again and you will have a nice edge like this. When you stitch over the side seams, make sure that your seam is open and seam allowance is facing in opposite directions to eliminate bulk, like so. Now, repeat this technique on all openings, neckline, another armhole, and on the hem of the blouse as well. For the hem though, you know what, I usually take it and make it a little bit thicker, about 1/2 inch, to add weight to the bottom of the garment. Once all openings and hems are done, we have one last thing to do, and that is the shoulders. First, serge the shoulder seams separately, just like we did for the side seams. Then stitch them at the line you marked before and press it open. To create the casing for the ties, stitch just at the serge line on both sides of the shoulder. It will look like so. Secure all loose threads and tidy up. To create the ties, you will need 2 strips of fabric at least 3 times as long as the shoulder length of your top and about 1.5 inches wide. I fold these in like I fold bias tape, like so. And it creates beautiful ties. Stitch on the edge. Once the ties are done, put them through the casing like so, and your blouse is ready. A great suggestion from our wonderful viewer. If you have a toddler like me, you can stitch the ties down at the neckline so that the little hands won't pull them out. So how easy was that? I told you can do it. It is fun and breezy. It is a loose blouse, just what I need for summer. And I hope this gave you some inspiration to make one for yourself as well. Dear sewing friend, happy sewing to you. And check out this other sewing video. I think you will love it as well. All right, see you there. Bye.